Fashion-forward men are vital in this ever-changing world. In this episode of the Personal Branding Playbook podcast, a man about style recalls his passion for fashion, why he jumped into the game, some do's and don'ts for bubbling entrepreneurs, how to keep your crisp style during a lockdown, on-brand versus off-brand fashion, and the new phases of men's fashion that excite him the most. Be sure to check out more drops from the Personal Branding Playbook podcast, and please let him know a man about style sent you.
Hello and to the Personal Branding Playbook. I got a very special Richard. This is one of the few people I know that I've met that is in fashion, specifically men's fashion. And I couldn't wait to interview this guy because I have a lot of questions that I don't think are really talked about a lot from personal branding, a business perspective, and just overall image. I think that because the world has gone so digital, people like Richard are still super important because he specializes in this area of fashion and appearance. So, Richard, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is definitely an honor.
So, first of all, what made you get into fashion? Because I know that's like really different. It's not the usual thing entrepreneurs do, So, what made you say, fashion is my thing, that's my lane?
Man, fashion was not what the plan was originally. And in short, like I used to be a funeral director. That's what I went to school for. Um, but how I really got into fashion, we'll start at the beginning, is in high school, jock fashion, sweats, did not look good. I ended up dating this girl who was a lawyer. We were in college, so we were going to a lot of events. And that's when I started dressing better. Like the response that I got. And from there, it was kind of like a wrap. And then the business of fashion, didn't come. I had an online coffee business that I was running for a while, got out of that, and I wanted a business that was more inherent to me. So I started going to well, I already was going to just a lot of events. I always loved to dress just from, I guess, college on. And so people already kind of knew and would ask me like, "Oh, where do you shop? Like, I like what you're wearing." And so I was like, "Oh, I could sell this." And that's kind of how
Wow.
my journey, started.
I love that. I love how you kind of went away from what was the norm and went into your own thing, what you want to do. That's entrepreneur energy right there, man. That is an entrepreneur move to just say, forget what everybody else is doing, forget what's normal. I'm going my way. I think that's really important, though. So, how do you feel about the trends in fashion right now, for specifically for entrepreneurs? Because everybody's going digital and virtual, so it's like
Right.
it was super important based on your appearance and everything because most of our calls are like this. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
we working like this now.
Now, and honestly, and I'll joke with people that I'm either, clients that I'm shopping for, and they're like, "Oh, well, what do I need to buy this for?" I'm like, "Yo, you still got to go to the grocery store." So, you know, seen even if it's by less right now. Um, but appearance is always one of those indicators, shortcuts when we're judging people, like it or not. That's just one of those evils that we got to deal with. So putting your best foot forward, unless you have already made it and you're a trust fund baby, is always something that should be important to you.
Man, I hear you because I can say I judge people. I'm gonna be very honest. I'm gonna judge you. I am judging you. I think we
Facts.
all do, but very few of us want to admit it and be honest. But we judge
Exactly.
people. You kind of have to. I think it's safe to judge people. You kind of have to. Like if I'm going into a business meeting with somebody and they come in there with shorts on and flip flops, it's just a different kind of look. And I know that might be what's normal for some people, but it's
Right.
not really how I personally would conduct myself in business meetings. And even with people in their hair and stuff when they come into Zoom calls, it's like you still have to be presentable in some kind of way.
Right. A funny thing is, and that will change depending on what your industry is, depending on what um and what your brand is. So if your brand is shorts and a t-shirt, like, Eric Thomas, the speaker, number one motivational speaker in the world. You will never see him in a suit and tie. He says he hates it. But it's always been his
True.
brand to be in just a t-shirt and a ball cap. It's still presentable, but that is his brand, and he's built it off of that. So those are your leeways.
All right, all right. So now let's get into some of the specifics about you. So when you provide this service to, well, first of all, how does service work? Let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a public
Right.
I'm on stage a lot. I'm going to events. Is it like you're going to show me how to dress for being on stage and when I'm working the hallways, or are you just going to give me a few little subtle details here and there?
And I work with clients on all of those levels. Some people will come to me just for, hey, I need something for an event. Some people, like I just did worked with a client who's an architect, and he's has two magazine spreads, and he's doing one for rebranding his business for his website. So I had to get him ready for two shoots. So I went over, I did a closet edit of basically everything he owned, everything he
Wow.
had, and then we put some looks together, some stuff we had to shop for, some pieces he already had, and just kind of told him, like, all right, this is what you can do. This is how you can project the image that he wanted for the clientele that he was trying to attract.
Man, I like that. You just gonna look at the whole closet and say, "This is trash. That's good. All of this
Yep.
gotta go." Like, hey,
I'm
that is
telling you,
intense. That
especially as
that sounds
men,
like it's something a lot of people need, men especially.
yeah, like we are hoarders in our closet, or we're like minimalists. So we got like two t-shirts from high school and a button up that we bought for a funeral, and like that's it.
That is facts, man. That is,
Mhm.
and I was a victim of that. I can say recently I put a little more effort into it because I'm just getting on
Okay.
stage more. I'm getting out there a little more. Got different coats and different styles. So, what
Yeah,
about the lazy entrepreneur? That's like, look, I don't want to go shopping at all. Here's this money. Go get me something to make me look good. Is that something you do as well?
100%. For most people that they think, oh, personal shopping isn't necessarily needed, especially as men, men don't like to shop. So this is actually like a true stat. Don't quote me on the number, but it's close. But it's around 80% of women actually shop for men. So we don't even shop for ourselves. Like most of the time, like we pass it on from the girlfriend. Well, it starts off with our mother dressing us. Then it goes to the girlfriend that we're with. Then it just passes on to our wife. And then, we might never step into a store like again after marriage. So if you value your time, if you don't know what you're looking for, just give it to a professional. We'll give you everything that you are looking for, the image, the whatever your brand is or your industry. And we'll go put some looks together, and it takes the guesswork and thinking out of it.
I love that. I love that. So, do you well, let's talk about the don'ts. Let's talk about the don'ts for entrepreneurs, because most of the people listening are business owners. A lot of them are getting on stage and speaking. They're going to
Right.
events. They're going to meetings. So what are the don'ts for those? Just give me one thing that specifically men got to stop wearing.
Mm. Man, honestly, I think, and you're gonna see it, but just the whole denim and a suit is, yes, it can be done, but it's not the best look, and most people wear it wrong. So just stay away from that. My suggestion is swap that dark denim out with some chinos, and you're gonna be straight.
Okay, okay. Even a suggestion. I like that. I like that. So
Mhm.
what about those events where, because my events I go to a lot, it's like I'll be up on stage speaking, and then
Right.
I use the rest of the day to just talk to people in the hallway. Like I went to one event last year, and man, I was walking around for maybe 6 hours just talking to people. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it was a lot. So what's the perfect kind of fit for that? It's more of a, it's kind of professional, but then it could also be casual. And I think that's where it's hard, where it's like you got to be professional, but then also relaxed and comfortable for the day.
Right. And I always tell people, like a third piece. So if say you're in a business casual setting, or like, in Seattle, where we have a very lax dress culture. So if you're in one of those cities or one of those industries, if you can know how to put together, a casual outfit, people will notice. Like, I'll give you an instance. I went to a networking event, and all I had on was I had some red plaid pants, a button up, no tie, and a brown cardigan. Now, this was not in a room full of fashion heads. Everybody was in like finance, marketing, different facets of business. And I actually, like, I'm an extrovert, but I didn't talk to anybody or introduce myself. Everybody came up to me off the strength of what I was wearing.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. And I think that goes back to what you said, how we judge people. I think because you were so relaxed in what you wore, people felt more comfortable just approaching you for a casual conversation. I do
Right.
think that what you how you dress, because when I get the most conversations at events, I'm wearing like a t-shirt with like a simple jacket, like a bomber jacket, something
Yeah.
super simple, and it works. It's
Right.
it's a different kind of energy I get when I have on like the coat and I have on more of the slack kind of setup. It's like people are like,
Yeah.
wait, this guy might be too serious. So that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, and even I've had that happen too. So I used to have a marketing position in downtown Seattle, and I was meeting with law firms and medical professionals. Now, my dress culture actually comes from like DC, so I was coming in there three-piece and a tie, and for the city that I'm in, it made people uncomfortable because I gave off the salesman vibe, which really I was just dressed professionally. Like, if I went anywhere else, people wouldn't think twice. But for where I was at, I realized I was like, okay, I'm intimidating people just because of my presence. And so I had to stop wearing ties because I was still going to be suited and looking good. But
Wow, that is
that made
so
that subtle
interesting.
difference.
Man, that is so interesting how what you wear like that, even if it's still professional in one city, it might be a little overwhelming and too much in another city. I can say that when it comes to like just even going out too, the way women dress in Seattle compared to the way women dress in LA is completely different. It's a different world. You would think it's a
Right.
different planet, man. It's crazy. Um, but I do think that's important. So for all the people listening, what's the first step if you want to improve your style so people will take you more seriously? But then not going too far off the deep end, like you said, wearing a three piece with the tie and all that. Like what's that first step to improving your style?
Honestly, the first step is, you could do this yourself, like, is doing like a closet edit, just saying, all right, what's old in my closet? Like, do I have anything that's new that fits? And you might think something fits, and it might actually be either too big or too small. So everybody, fit is king. So those are your two things. Kind of evaluate where you actually are stylistically, and go find out what the pieces you need are, and then just make sure everything fits.
Okay, that's a good first step because I think after quarantine, a lot of people gonna have to reevaluate that closet, man.
Yeah, 100%. That's what everybody's telling me that I've worked with. Like, oh man, like, I'm going back to work, or I'm starting to travel again, and things ain't fitting like they used to. So,
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so another question I have for you, and this is more on a personal side. What's really your goal with your fashion business? Like, do you want to start a clothing line? Are you looking to, work with certain types of celebrities? Or are you fine serving the people and the businesses you're serving right now?
mm, I mean, several. The funny thing is, even though like I do personal styling and personal shopping, that isn't actually like my main business. So I work with a lot in social. It's like you see, working with brands, collaborations, and content creation. And I'm also in the process of just creating online products in the lifestyle fashion space, and I'll be starting actually a new business here just in the wedding industry, but I can't uh,
Oh,
disclose that just
I,
yet.
the wedding industry is, man, they make some good money. The photographers, the makeup artists, event planners. I already know. You ain't got to say no more than that. That's where the money at, for real. I love that for
So
you, man. I love it. So I think one thing you should consider doing is launching a fashion podcast. Because there are not a lot of fashion shows, and I think that while the visuals are important for like YouTube or whatever, I think the
right,
audio would still be useful, just to hold a conversation around appearance and things like that. Like, I don't think it's talked about enough with entrepreneurs and business owners overall. Like, people have kind of, I feel like we've transitioned in the last 5-10 years into just
mm,
wearing kind of whatever, but
right,
it's still certain situations where you need to know how to get right. You
right.
have to know how to get right. I think that's really important, man. You could be a catalyst for that conversation, man.
For sure. No, I definitely have thought about it. I think this has been my reasoning against like podcasting. I always felt like it's like kind of like the new YouTube channel. Like everybody's got a podcast. And two, like fashion is highly visual. So like that's why when you go on IG or when you go on YouTube, like those two mediums like pop out for fashion just because it is so visual.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I always get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of pushback when I say that, but I'm a podcast person. I think everybody should have
Hey,
one.
yeah, no, I see what you're doing. Trust. I read all the tweets. I listen to the show, so I'm like, man, maybe I should. But that's always been me personally.
I love it, man. I love it. So, what advice would you give to the? Well, first, do you work with a lot of women?
I do, just because like that's how I was trained. Um, I just have like a passion for, menswear and so. But if a woman comes to me, I can definitely do a woman just as easy as I can do a guy.
Oh wow, that is super. So, what is that like working with women? Have you ever had any women push back when you give them advice or insight?
100%. Um, See, and this actually happens more with so a men's client versus a woman's client is most of the time a man you can tell him the rules. You can go find something that like looks good, and any good stylist or personal shopper is gonna push you a little bit. So they're gonna post something that's out of your comfort zone and be like,
Mm,
"Hey, like yes, you can do these things, but this is gonna push you." Because you wear the same things all the time. Now, and with the woman client, you're gonna do the exact same things, and it can look fly, she can look amazing, everybody will compliment her, but if she's just not comfortable in it or she doesn't see herself um, in a way that is just positive for her own self, like she'll push back and there's nothing you can really do about it. So that's always been my frustration with working with women clients because I'm like, you look good, you're gonna get all the affirmation that you want, um, but you know,
that's funny, man.
it
That
is
because
what it is.
the original question I wanted to ask you is, is how do you work with women? But I see you do the same process, and it's just a bit more frustrating. Um,
And I mean, there are things that men don't have to consider. Like they have a lot more curves than we do.
yeah, yeah, true, very
Mm,
true. It's because as a man, I think it is easier for us, just easier for us to dress compared to women because they have a lot more going on, and they're more so judged on their appearance than we are.
right.
I
It's a
can put
social currency.
exactly. So I get it, to a certain extent. I understand why women would have so much pushback. So here, what is your best piece of advice to that guy who's struggling to, improve his appearance right now? He looked in his closet. He said, "All this stuff is trash. I need to start from square
Yeah.
one." What's your piece of advice to that guy?
Okay. So honestly, I would tell that guy one, either go once you decide that I need help, figure out what are you dressing for? Are you dressing for dating? Are you dressing for just workwear? An easy way. This is what I do. I love Pinterest. Like low key, it's one of my favorite social medias. Create a Pinterest boards of just like favorite looks, or I guess if you like Instagram, like they have the save feature. Just go save a bunch of like outfits that you kind of like. go to a store, even if you don't have a personal shopper or know somebody. Like, hey, like I like this kind of look. Is there anything in here would fit this? And they will, most good store associates, like that's what their job is to help you find those type of things and start from there.
Oh, I love that. I love great way to get started, man. I kind of like that. See, because what I did is when quarantine started, I saw Nordstrom pop up like, oh, we're having a sale on everything. It was like 80% off, just ridiculous. So
Yeah,
I'll never forget it. I ordered 4 pairs of shoes. And I paid like the original price on some of these boots were like 350 and I got them for like $40. It was a come up
yeah.
for real. Um
Hey,
so that was kind of my personal shift, is during quarantine I kind of got lucky just catching those sales. So do you
right.
think it's as easy for guys to catch those sales as women?
You don't have to have a $500 outfit if that's not where you're at. And especially you're gonna waste money, especially if you don't know what your personal style is, because it's gonna evolve, and your taste levels as you grow older. But invest in some quality pieces. Like you're always gonna need at least one suit. It's gonna be tailored. I'm gonna say that again. It's tailored. A tie and a pocket square.
Hey, I ain't gonna hold
So
you, man. That's where I'm lacking. I gotta get right on that, man.
I'm telling you, see, these are the three people you need to have in your phone. You need to have like your accountant, you need to have your lawyer, and then you gotta have a tailor.
Oh man, I love that. Hey, Richard, you gave us some really good information on how to look good, man. I appreciate you for coming by the show. Let the people know where they can find
And
you.